Once upon a time, only fortune seekers and adventurers would become football agents.
If I don't do any deals, you'll find me hanging from Tower Bridge.
Today, it has become a more serious business.
If I have the belief in a player, I work my balls off.
30 years ago, there were only a few dozen football agents. Today, some 10,000 of these agents keep a close eye on 700,000 football players.
Football is now 80% business and 20% sport.
They operate in a market with prices that rise and fall on a daily and even hourly basis.
It's great for us that we may offer you a whole defense. We set it as our objective.
But while all the attention goes to the superstars and their agents, most of the real work is done on the sidelines. Who are these agents? How do they make their money?
Normally we focus on players between 1 and 30 million euros.
In Transfer Window, we enter the world of the European football agents. When you think of football agents, you'll probably think of famous agents like Mino Raiola and deals worth tens of millions. There are 700,000 professional football players worldwide, and sooner or later, each one of them will want to transfer to a new club, and that's when they'll need an agent. In Transfer Window, we meet 4 European agents who are on the lookout for good deals. We start off in Great Britain with Barry Silkman, or Silky to his friends. We follow him on deadline day, the last day of the English transfer window. And even though he has a busy day ahead of him, the day always starts with his morning ritual, a walk with his 3 dogs.
I've just been trying to bring a player over on loan, but the club have said to me they'll let me know at 11 o'clock. But I don't think they realise the window shuts at 5. They're all sitting there laughing. The Italians, the Spanish, French, they're getting fortunes for players because they know the English clubs haven't got any time to negotiate, so they just ask for a fortune and get a fortune.
Following an impressive football career playing for clubs all over England, he went on to become one of the 10 most influential football agents in the country. He was one of the first to become a football agent and is a middleman. He's a deal maker and he has found new clubs for famous players like Demba Ba and David Villa. Over to Germany. In one of the biggest football countries in the world, friends Simon Graner and Patrick Bonomi, they are both German, though Patrick has Italian roots, and together they have driven some pretty tough bargains for the 13 players they represent. From Germany, we cross over to the Netherlands, and although it's a small football country, it's famous as a breeding ground for talented football players from all over the world. We meet 37-year-old Danny Ries. He started out as a football player at the age of 24 and his ambitions are as large as ever, as are those of the 20 players he represents.
I want to be one of the biggest agents in a few years. I want to have 3-4 players in the national team in a few years. This is my goal from the beginning. Yeah.
How many professional football players are we actually talking about here, and how many agents represent them? To find out the answer, we travel to Hamburg. This is where Transfermarkt is based, the largest football database in the world.
It's nearly 700,000 players in the database. We're at the moment covering about 10,000 agent persons, working in about 5,000 agent companies we're having in our database. And for sure we see that there is a branch of the really top players like Mino Raiola, like Jorge Mendes. There's I would say a branch B, taking care of normal players we're watching every day in our leagues. And there is even more going nowadays to youth sector, to even amateur sector. There's a lot of lawyers that just see that they already are engaged with players with their contracts, and so they started entering the field too.
In the Transfermarkt database, footballers are merchandised and every football player is reduced to a list of statistics. All these figures ultimately lead to a single crucial number, the price of a football player. This number can differ widely between players. Only a club with deep pockets can afford a player like Eden Hazard, worth more than 135 million. But if your budget's a bit tighter, you could consider the Japanese defender Naruki Takahashi or the German goalkeeper Jonas Tasche, both for sale for €50,000. In any case, there are enough players for the 10,000 agents to trade in.
The industry is growing. Everybody's reading of new transfer records. And I think there's even a lot of people who started, who tried, then stopped, and doing this only occasionally, probably in the end, or stopped totally.
More transfers means more TV royalties. The turnover of the global football industry has exploded over the last 30 years, which has attracted enterprising people who want to be a part of it. Budding entrepreneurs look for growing markets, which is why such a huge number of young business people think they can make it big in the football industry.
Hello.
Ido, Danny.
How are you, Danny?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So, tell me, what do you need?
I really need a striker. Salary can be up to 150 per season, and also striker salary around 8. They need to be very, very high level because it's for top clubs.
I do business around the globe because the market is expanding. Players who are, for example, playing in Holland, who are at the end of the career, they can earn much more money. You need to have contacts with the football clubs, with the director, with the head of scouting. So you call them, you speak with them, and then they will say, okay, these positions we're looking for, this money we can pay, and then you have to look, of course, in your own portfolio, like if I have something. But what do you think the budget is?
What they're asking is no transfer fee, but I think something around up to 300,000 to 400,000 euro could be relevant.
Yeah, let me think about it, okay? I get back to you. We speak, thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
No problem. Bye.
It's a reminder of how the football agents market has changed. Something that old Hans Silky is very unhappy about.
You know, a lot of players now are bought on computers. You know, they're bought with statistics. It's absolute nonsense. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I can see football in 6-7 years just exploding and becoming a non-entity because computers are taking over. You've got statisticians telling clubs whether to buy a player or not. Well, how on earth would they know? How would they know? You know, if you look at a statistic as a player and say, well, this guy kept the ball 95% of the game. He's a midfield player and he never gave the ball away. Where did he pass it? Sideways, backwards, 5 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards? You know, did he make the right decision when he got the ball? Or did he make the wrong decision? Statistics they don't tell you anything. The only thing a statistic is good for is a goal scorer. I mean, Harry Maguire, he's just gone for 80 million to Manchester United. What Sky Television have done a statistic to show that on them stats, he's better than Van Dijk. Is someone having a laugh? It's ridiculous.
Barry drops by his office in Potter's Bar, just north of London.
When I started this business, I was the 18th licensed agent in the country. That's all there were. Now there's 18,000. There's no more test, there's no anything. You just apply and you're not an agent anymore, you're now an intermediary. So a lot of players have now got their families working for them. And with respect, 90% of them haven't got a clue. Like, no idea. They can't guide the player because they don't know. So all they look at is finance. That's all they look at. You've got to look at a career.
All entrepreneurs have their own particular working methods, and football agents are no different. Simon Graner and Patrick Bonomi run a full-service football agency, but it started out very differently. Back then, it was called Integration Sport, and it was based on a very simple idea. The combination of a young, talented player, a huge transfer sum, and a new living environment with no friends was a recipe for disaster. So, what to do about it?
This was an idea to have a niche in football business. This was the starting point of our former company called Integration Sport. And the idea here was to offer to players or to clubs for their players a completely 100% integration of the foreign players coming to the new country and to the new club. Very important part of the negotiation with the club is that there is a guidance in the new club to help the player to arrange a car, an apartment, that he feels home very fast and he can show what he's able on the pitch. This is a very important part. We tell this part, and many clubs are quite surprised before we discuss any financial details with them. It's important that the clubs know that it's important for us.
Is it important to find a niche, your own piece of that huge football pie? And will it get you success any faster?
All you need is a network. The niche was our starting point, but if you are Cristiano Ronaldo and you want to be a football agent afterwards, I think you have the contacts to be one.
But how does this market actually work? Who are the key players in this field? You could compare the market to an iceberg with the major agents and offices at the very top.
An der Spitze sind die Kollegen wie Mino Raiola. Die haben eine absolut outstanding Position im Markt. Aber ja, ich denke, da wollen wir hin.
Yeah, there's still a little bit to do to reach Mino Raiola's level.
Just below them is a large group of agents who close successful deals every year and earn themselves a decent income. The majority of the football agents, however, are at the bottom of the iceberg, or even underwater. They don't work as agents full-time because it doesn't pay the bills. There are many agents, but relatively few really talented football players. It's a saturated market, and while footballers are all worth money, only a few of them will make their agents rich. Denny Ris has not reached the tip of the iceberg yet, and neither have the 20-something players he represents. Not yet.
Merci. So now we're going to a game of Go with Eagles against Jong FC Utrecht. It's in the second league of Holland. Currently I have 3 players there. 2 of them are playing and one is the biggest youth talent at the moment.
This is the second highest tier of the Dutch Football League, the first division. For Ris, it is above all a question of investing in the future, helping talented players to get ahead in their careers.
I work a lot in the Dutch league because young players get the chance to play. Before I always was dealing with professional players who are already there on that level. But now I'm also picking up youth players who has a bright future in front of them. And yeah, you can develop them and help them with their career. So now one of the players is Zakaria Edachouri. He's 19 years old and he's one of the biggest talents at his position in this division. Hoe is het met hem? Goed? Ja?
Ik heb wel pijn zelf, maar afgelopen week deed echt pijn.
Maar denk je dat je had kunnen spelen? Of,
Ja, sowieso. Vooral na die pijn zelf, ik voelde vrij weinig.
Maar je moet gewoon fit worden.
Gewoon lekker voetballen, gewoon plezier.
This is a player who can be playing in the top of the Netherlands in a few years. So it's the typical player who can be playing for Ajax, Amsterdam, for example. Maar daarom, je ziet, dit is wel een lekkere wedstrijd. Zeker als je invalt. Maar je bent erbij. Je weet ook dat als je fit bent, dat je gewoon je minuten gaat krijgen. Dat. Rustig aan.
Every football player dreams of making it as a professional footballer. Today, more and more people also dream of becoming one of the 10,000 football agents. But how do you become a football agent? Where do you start? For the duo of Graner and Bonomi, it all started, where else, in a football stadium.
Patrick and me, we met first in 2007 in a football stadium and we became friends. And then as we are like loving football, we are always discussing a lot about football. Patrick had already good contacts to some players and I was working after my university studies as a freelancer as well for another agent. We have noticed very early that there are a lot of foreign players coming to Germany, but as well foreign players going to other countries which are not integrated 100% into the new club. That means there is maybe nobody talking their mother language or completely caring about them 100%. And then we started to work with many players, foreign players. We're responsible for, as well, for example, for the world champion of France, for Benjamin Pavard.
Players were soon approaching the pair to find them a new club.
passing time with them and becoming friends and so on, then we as well got the information or the question, hey, are you as well able with your network you have until now to find us a new club? And we were like quite surprised, and that was the starting point of our actual company to start and to become football agents.
Denny Ris was still only a young guy when he was asked by the well-known agent Humphrey Nyman to join his agency.
I became an agent in 2006. I was studying, and during the day I was working for a big bank in Holland. And I met one agent who was the agent of, for example, Wijnaldum, who was playing for Liverpool. He introduced me to some people, and he asked me to come and join the company. Willem is a personality, of course. Also within the month I flew to Ukraine. I was there busy with the player Anatoly Timoshuk, trying to get him from Shakhtar Donetsk to England. And we found a deal with Wigan Athletic, who was playing in the Premier League. Yeah, the deal was really close. They offered 12 million, and then Zenit St. Petersburg they paid 20 million, and the deal was gone.
Under the wing of his mentor, Denny is making more and more deals with players. But as is often the case, the pupil eventually has to leave his master and go his own way, even if somewhat unwillingly.
When I was 24, I was the youngest agent in Europe. I did deals to Ajax, Lorenzo Ebesilio, players who won 2-time championship with Ajax. After these deals, I was more getting the feeling, but of course I was working for a company, so of course I always had the dream to have my own company. And when in 2011 there was a break between me and the company, and from that moment I always was thinking I want to have my own company and build it.
In the early 1990s, Barry Silkman had just ended his professional football career. He had no money and no idea what to do with his life. But then the phone rang.
One day, I got a phone call from a guy called Danny O'Shea. I don't even know how he found my number, because I was off the radar. I hadn't even been to a football match for over 4 years. And he said to me, Silk, you might be able to help one of the players at the club I'm playing at. He said, I've got a left back here called Alan Kimball. I think he could play in a better team. I went to watch the player. I had a car that was worth about £250. I was so embarrassed when I turned up at the ground. So I watched him, and after the game, I went home, and for the very, very, very first time in years, I watched Match of the Day. And as I was watching it, I thought, well, the left back, where Alan Kimball played, this guy doesn't look very good. So after the game, they said, we're going to interview the Wimbledon manager, Joe Kinnear. And I couldn't believe it. I'd known Joe since I was a kid. And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe that he is a manager of a football club. So when they interviewed him, he happened to mention that Terry Phelan, their left back, had been sold to Manchester City, that he played a young player there today, but he was looking for a left back. And I thought, well, now this is crazy. So what I did, I phoned Wimbledon, and they gave me the number of the training ground. And I asked for Joe Kinnear. The girl said, who is it? I said, tell him it's Silky. So everyone knows me as Silky. About a minute later, this voice has gone, Silk? He went, watched him, liked him, I did the deal.
And so he became a football agent by chance, although we had no idea of the going rates.
I lost a ridiculous amount of money because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I had a chairman come to me, the chairman of Millwall. He said, if I don't sell a player by Friday, the club's going bankrupt. I said, how much do you need? He said, I need £500,000. And what I did, I went out and sold a player for him that day to Liverpool for £1 million. Now, in effect, the minimum I should have got for that is £100,000, if not 150, because I just saved the club. And I got 5,000, and I thought that was good. So I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and that was what was happening all the time.
Football is a market, a very large market. As many as 700,000 football players have succeeded in turning their hobby into a profession. Now that football has become a real billion-dollar business, thousands of young businessmen and sometimes women are dreaming of a career as a football agent. They will find out soon enough that this market is completely different to other markets. It takes months of negotiations before a deal can be reached. And what's more, these deals can only be closed during a brief period of the year, much to Barry Silkman's dismay.
What job in the whole world only allows you to operate for 10, 11 weeks in a year? Where? Find one. If you can find one, I'll give you my house.
It's the 8th of August, the last day of the transfer window in England. The English market is the first to close, and the phone is ringing off the hook.
Excuse me. Hi, Vincenzo. Hello. Ricardo. Who's that? Hi, Humphrey. All right, let me make a call. I tell you what is happening. They're definitely signing Dybala, and they're signing another player. So I've got a feeling that would be it. There's 2 players going there today for over 100 million. And let me check. I'll make a call right now, and I'll come back to you. Give me 5 minutes, yeah.
Dutch agent Humphrey Nijman calls Barry. Sporting Lisbon has asked Nijman to find out if English clubs are seriously interested in its star player Bruno Fernandes. And who do you call when you're looking for a middleman in England? Silky.
What position's he played? Lo Celso, midfield, isn't he? Yeah, he's a bit like that Bruno Fernandes, isn't he? All right, brilliant. Bye, mate. Yeah, no, they're not going to take him. They're taking Lo Celso midfield, yeah, from Real Betis, because they didn't make an offer. They phoned up and they were quoted 70 million. They're buying Lo Celso for 45 million. That deal's going through now, and they're buying Sessegnon from Fulham for 30 million. Yeah, I'm positive. No. Lo Celso's the same player. The deal's done. Yeah, it's the same position. 45 million euro. There's only 6 hours to go. That's ridiculous. Yeah, they're probably looking for a reason not to buy him. After 2 or 3 times, yeah, what they do, they start to look things what they're not good at. Exactly. It's what I've been talking about this morning. You know, in the end, you say, well, what about so? I said, well, he can't do this and can't do that. Well, you're not going to fucking buy him on what he can't do. You're only going to buy him on what he can do. It's a joke. I know. And he doesn't get on well with his girlfriend, and he's... Thanks, Humphrey. God bless, mate. Bye, mate. Bye.
The windows during which clubs are allowed to buy players vary from country to country and from continent to continent. For Simon and Patrick, active in many countries, this means that there is always a deal being made somewhere.
The priority is in the whole lifeline. Defend the left, defend the right.
Yeah.
In the left back, right back, the whole
defense. Yeah, the whole defense.
Yeah, the whole defense for next summer, that's for sure.
Okay, no, it's great for us that we may offer you a whole defense. We set it as our objective. Normally we focus on players between 1 and 30 million euros. I send you the names of the players we already have for you, and we keep in touch, and I call you as soon as I have new ones, and I send you the email with the 3 ones I already said.
Okay, that would be nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Have a nice day.
Okay.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye-bye.
They've been asked to find a completely new defense. Things are looking good for the German duo. So, how do these transfer deals work in practice? Several parties are involved in negotiating the transfer of a player. The buying club, the selling club, the player, and his agent. Sometimes the buying and selling clubs will also bring their own agents to the table to act as mediators. They agree on the price of the player and the player's salary. Now the agent can negotiate his commission. The agent of the transferred player receives a percentage of his annual salary, and while the agents of the clubs get a percentage of the transfer fee. Suppose you represent a player who earns 1 million a year and you agree to take 5% of that salary. This means that you will receive 50,000 euros per year for the duration of the contract. But if a player earns 291,000 euros, the average salary of a player in the Dutch Premier League, for example, then the annual commission at 5% will only be 14,550 euros. So, what are normal commissions?
There is everything open for any creativity. So everything is possible with earning money in football business.
Real estate agents in the housing market know exactly what to charge. But in football, the adage is every deal is unique. And that means you need to be creative. The undisputed king of creativity is Mino Raiola, as is evident from the deal he did for the purchase of his French star player Paul Pogba. The story goes that Raiola also represented the club that sold Pogba, Juventus. Whistleblower platform Football Leaks published the details of this transfer, worth no less than 105 million euros. Raiola is said to have signed a contract with Juventus to help this club with Pogba's transfer. The limited transfer fee was 90 million euros. A successful transfer would guarantee Raiola 18 million, but, and now comes the juicy bit, every 5 million above the limited transfer fee would bring Raiola another 3 million. Altogether, Raiola earned 27 million euros off of Juventus. And that's not all. Manchester United also owes him a commission of 19.4 million as a percentage of Pogba's salary of his 5-year contract. And the French midfielder himself owes his representative another 2.6 million euros for his services. So, that's 49 million euros in total for one deal. That's even more than Pogba earns. But now back to the hard reality of the average football agent. Danny Riss wrangled a profitable deal in the final seconds of the transfer window last summer. He managed to get his player, Rajiv van La Parra, signed to a Champions League club. This was win-win for both the player and for Danny, who can look forward to a few percent of his player's annual salary.
On deadline day in Serbia, I did a deal with Rajiv van La Parra from Huddersfield Town to Red Star, Belgrade. It's a big deal for us and the company, of course, because you're speaking about the transfer can be 1.9 million. So it's quite a big deal for Rajiv also, because he played in the second level of England. He relegated with Huddersfield Town, so the salary dropped down also with 50%. And he still can play Champions League and the salary is much higher. So it's a win-win for him.
Months of watching games, making calls and talking to clubs and players, it's all part of the job. But at the end of the transfer window, only one number matters: the number of deals you've made.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I've been involved in 5 deals, so it's been okay, but it gets harder.
2 out of 13 doesn't seem a lot, but you always have to think that the 11 others, they just stayed in their clubs and
Wir fühlen uns sehr, sehr gut, ja. Aber bis heute, wir gehen in einen Pub und wir bestellen 2 Gin and Tonic und wir sind glücklich. Ja.
And we still do this today. When we make a deal, because we did this at the first deal, so we went to the first pub and drank 2 gin and tonics, and we still do this today.
This window was quite good for us, for the company. We did more than 10 deals. And yeah, the big one was with Rajiv. Also, we signed new players with the company. So yeah, it's quite good.
Unscrupulous, cunning, greedy, a jet-set life and easy money. That is the image that most people have of football agents. But is this actually the case?
Of course they do, because that's the perception given by the media. You always hear about the agents who are getting this amount of money, that amount of money. You never hear about the clubs who receive 50, 60, 40, 30 million pounds for a player and the player turns out to be useless. You never ever read and say, this club conned this club into buying a player that was no good. Have you ever read that before? So I've never read it before. Never seen it, never heard of it. It always comes back to the agents.
Can you really make a living out of it?
I've never made a loss. Well, not for a long time. So it's very hard to make a loss, really, because my only expenses, I have a secretary who's 3 days a week, and I have the office, and 1 car, and the phone, phone bills. So it's very difficult to make a loss, really.
Are these football agents making a profit year after year?
Wegen uns natürlich wie an der Börse. Ja, wir haben, wenn wir Umsätze tätigen, dann sind sie außergewöhnlich hoch. Ja, auf der anderen Seite haben wir natürlich monatlich für unser Unternehmen extreme Kosten. Ja. Man kann keine Forecast machen, das ist nicht möglich in unserer Branche. Dafür ist die Branche zu aktuell. Ja. Jede 90 Minuten ändern alles.
Let's look at the books of a football agent. The agent receives an annual percentage of the salaries of all the players he represents. So, suppose you have 10 Dutch league players in your portfolio. Their average salary is €291,000, and as their agent, you receive 5% of this. So, that's €14,550 a year. Multiply that by 10, and you have €145,500. But that's your gross turnover. You still have to subtract your costs. And if you have players abroad, then there'll be travel and accommodation to pay. And that all comes out of your earnings. New deals often mean better contracts and more money in your pocket. But what happens if a transfer window goes by and you haven't made any deals at all?
If I don't do any deals, you'll find me hanging from Tower Bridge.
We wanted to know how much the football world is worth, and to find the answer, we'll go back to Hamburg.
Here just asked one of our colleagues from our tech department to go into our huge database and have an excerpt of all the transfers where transfer fee was paid in the last season, and it's about 2,500, and we summed up the transfer fees and ended up with 7.6 billion.
During 2019, FIFA registered more than 8,000 transfers with a combined value of over €7 billion.
What we see is that the top 4 leagues in the balance spent more money than they earned. You have the French league, which is known as a league exporting talents, are among the top leagues the only one who earned money in the end.
Of that $7+ billion that was spent in the global transfer market during the summer of 2019, the top 4 leagues in Europe, England, Spain, Italy and Germany, were good for almost €4.8 billion. England was easily the biggest spender at €1.5 billion, which is offset by more than €800 million in income. This means that the English clubs earned €700 million less than they spent.
If you look far down, you go to number 10, which is Eredivisie. It's only 1/10 of what Premier League is spending, and there you see that the top football is really going faster, going bigger, and probably the smaller leagues left behind.
During that same summer, the Dutch Premier League raked in €365 million in transfer funds. Ajax and PSV had a record summer with the transfers of Frenkie de Jong, Matthijs de Ligt and Hirving Lozano. Because they only spent €111 million on new players, the net profit of no less than €253 million was very good indeed.
We also can take a look on what the clubs are spending, and there you see, this transfer window, some clubs, even Liverpool, they didn't spend a thing. Last year we had Bayern München didn't spending a thing, but they're among the top spenders in this transfer window. It's Ajax who had the best balance. And then you normally have Portuguese clubs. Amongst the clubs with the best transfer balance, it's always Benfica and Porto.
Clearly, there is plenty of money to go around among the agents. So do they only do it for the money?
I would just say a majority of agents are money orientated. And I suppose a majority of people in life are money orientated. That's just how life is. It's never been my goal. As long as I feel that I haven't been ripped off, which has happened before, but as long as I'm happy with what I'm getting, if there's somebody else in the deal with me and they're getting far more than I am, I don't worry about it.
The transfer window has closed, but it isn't time to book a holiday yet. In fact, nothing could be further from the truth.
And when it finishes, you think, thank God for that. I can relax. And then people start phoning you and say, look, I want to talk to you about something. I didn't want to do this during the transfer window because we're not be able to get the player in this transfer window, but we might be able to get him in the next transfer window. And you think, oh no, it's starting all over again. You probably get, I would say, 4 weeks, 5 weeks relaxation. That's probably it.
After the window, we always have to prepare for the next one. And because I work worldwide, the transfer windows are different in countries. For me, it's work all around the year.
We have players from Asia and from South America. That means early in the morning. In Asia, it's already nearly afternoon.
Barry Silkman is 67 years old. Isn't it time for him to retire?
While I enjoy it, and financially I have to do it, I don't have an option. My wife was very ill a few years ago. Sadly, she passed away 3.5 years ago, and at that time all my finance went on keeping her alive and paying for medication. So rather than be in a position where maybe I'm not far away from being able to say, well, if I do a deal, I do one, and if I don't, I don't, I was almost in that position. And then with the finance spent with helping Ali, then I went back, if you like, I more or less went back to square one, yeah? And had to start all over again. So I have a daughter, I have a son, so I need to work. I have no option, but I still enjoy it.
The work never stops. You're always on the road and it's a constant battle to make the best deals. So, do the Asians love what they do?
Yeah, but you have to work hard for it. The most of them think, okay, they work with top stars, they earn a lot of money and have a jet-set life. It's partly true, but you have to work hard for it, and you have as well a lot of costs to do this and to start this kind of football business. But then, sure, you have the euphoric moments of deals done, but you have as well a lot of setbacks. It's worth to do it.
Young father Danny also struggles to find the right mix between his personal and his business life.
It's tough, yes, because I travel a lot. So in the meantime, my baby's getting big. He's almost 2 years old. He's walking, he's running. Yeah, it's going fast. Of course, I have seen him walk, but the first moment, I miss that. Besides that, I miss funerals. I miss weddings from friends of mine getting a baby. I don't have time. This is the hard thing, being an agent, yes.
Let's briefly go back to London. Barry shares his thoughts on his business with us one more time.
When I was a kid, the people that earned the money were the actors and the singers. What's happened today, football has become the pop music of what was in the 1960s, 70s, 80s. Football was now taken over from what were the singing stars. It's quite remarkable, really, what's happened. It's become a huge business. It was what football was over the years. It was 80% sport and 20% business. Football is now 80% business and 20% sport. It's completely turned itself around. It's quite amazing.
Football agents Barry, Danny, Simon, Patrick, they all love their profession and wouldn't want to do anything else. They spend whole days on the phone and months trying to make deals that only rarely succeed. While the next generation of 700,000 professional football players around the world are eager to earn their fortunes on the pitch, another crop of football agents are also keen to reap a portion of the profits. So, are they only in it for the money? No, although it does play an important part. But more than that, it's about people who simply love the game and love that they can get so close to the players, the stadiums and the clubs, places where ordinary mortals would never come. The world of football is worth billions of euros. As Barry Silkman puts it, footballers are the pop stars of our time. These artists have created a market with 7 billion euros in transfer fees a year. Everybody wants a piece of that huge pie. But, as within any market, only a few people hit the jackpot. For the others, it's just lots and lots of hard work, and sometimes, just sometimes, a nice bit of cash.